I grew up with 15 brothers and sisters in a Midwest farming town, and while we were poor, we weren't worried about our next meal or gun violence. And I also grew up in a giving environment. My father, as much as he could, gave back to neighbors when they needed help and that type of thing. We started this company. We're a for-profit business, and we were in the transitioning from a previous brand, and so we were selling the bats at a discount. When I got down to 600 or so bats, I thought about maybe instead of just selling them at a discount, using those bats as a way to help some programs. I wasn't really sure what to do, so I was contacted by a young 14-year-old man out of Boston, and he said he was doing a podcast. And his name's Brian Hinault, and he has a podcast called Chunk Hits Dingers. Just during the call, I just happened to ask him, "Do you know anybody in the area that I could maybe support with some equipment?" And he introduced me to a group called The Base out of Boston. And so at that point, I just had called up there and talked to a young man named Steph Lewis. And I just said, "Hey, I've got a little bit of product." I was thinking, 50 bats or something like that. So his father, Robert Lewis Jr., called me. He's one of the most passionate men I've ever met. And he was excited that we'd want to help. And honestly, by the time that I got off the phone, I said, "Well, I've got about 400 bats, that I'd be willing to donate to your program." He was blown away, and that's kind of how it started. I flew up there, and they showed me their amazing facility and again, their passion for helping these youth. I spent all afternoon with them, and then I met with some of the board of directors, and I went to bed that night, and I just woke up with this just feeling like maybe I could make a difference. I don't know how, but I'm going to try to get a bat in any kid's hand in America, and you don't always have to know how, but I really felt passionate about that. So the next morning I went in and talked to Robert again, and he put me on a Zoom conference with about 25 programs in the nation. And I gave him my vision about what I wanted to do. Frank Brim that runs Base Chicago was on that call, and I told him, I said, "Hey, I've got to go up to Wisconsin to do some hunting. Why don't I stop and see you in Chicago on the way through?" I said, "Well, I'm going to fly into O'Hare. I'll just rent a car and come over." He said, "No, you're not driving over here. This is the west side of Chicago. You can't drive over here." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I drive everywhere." I thought, man, that's crazy. So I drove in that area, and I'd never been there before, and I was just like stunned. I was stunned by the poverty. And Frank is working out of an abandoned school and with a very low budget. And I met him, and I just happened to bring with about 20 or 30 bats that I could carry on with me. They don't like to reach out and ask for things, but I just tell them, if you need something, let me know. I was actually with my wife. We were up in Colorado driving through the mountains one day, and I got a call just out of the blue from a guy named Tony who runs Base Able. He said, "We have a different program. It's for young men of any type of disability." If you look at his website, it's pretty touching. I mean, basically their comment is, you got boys here that have had a baseball hat their whole life. They've worn a hat their whole life. They've never stepped up to the plate, but they know the stats. They know everything. So it just kind of touched me, and I said, "Yeah, whatever you need." And so, although I had the misconception that most of these were very young youth, so we sent a whole bunch of youth bats over there. And he was like, "Wow, this is awesome, but I've got players that are 60 years old." So then we sent them some of the more of the adult type bats. We've kept in touch, and they had a Special Olympics exhibition game in September, and they invited me to come down. And that's when it really hit me, because now I'm in the dugout with the players. They asked me to throw out the first pitch, which was pretty cool.
Thank you for your support of Special Olympics.
It's just something that super cool, so we're going to continue to support that for as long as I'm around, at least. We can only do so much. We set aside 10% of our sales, 1 bat for every 10 bats that we donate to programs when they need them. On our website, you can actually go in and donate from $1 to the value of a bat, and then that goes directly to these programs or these people. But also, we'll have links directly to each of the websites. So if you happen to be from the Northeast and you want to help Boston, you can directly go into their website through their link. Same with Chicago. And so we'll make it simple for the community at large to help out these people in need. If you know of a program in need that could use bats and baseball products, just reach out to us through our contact page. We answer every call. It's part of our passion, it's part of our mission, and it's real. So we're here to help.